Here's how the coin would work. Republicans are once again threatening to hold the debt ceiling hostage, as they did in the summer of 2011. That is, they will not vote to raise the limit of the amount the U.S. government can borrow unless the White House and Democrats agree to some draconian spending cuts. Enter the coin. It turns out there is a subsection of the U.S. Code called Denominations, Specifications, and Design of Coins that includes the following provision. The Secretary may mint and issue platinum bullion coins and proof platinum coins in accordance with such specifications, designs, varieties, quantities, denominations, and inscriptions as the Secretary, in the Secretary's discretion, may prescribe from time to time. The idea of trillion-dollar coin advocates is the President would direct the Treasury to mint a trillion-dollar platinum coin and then deposit it in the Treasury's bank account at the Federal Reserve, and voila. Just as a $100 bill isn't made of $100 worth of cotton, a new trillion-dollar coin wouldn't be made of $1 trillion of platinum. Just a single small bit of platinum will do. That's all. Economist John Kenneth Galbraith once said, the process by which banks create money is so simple that the mind is repelled. And the same can be said of how our government creates money. The simple truth is it creates money simply out of thin air. Someone at the Federal Reserve punches in a number in a spreadsheet and voila, more money. Abraham Lincoln printed greenbacks to fund the Union, and his opponents mocked him mercilessly for doing so, which this cartoon from the time depicting a machine spewing bills shows. And FDR ditched the gold standard to get us out of the Great Depression. Both those ideas were, at the time, probably about as ridiculous as a trillion-dollar coin. If that can work, well then let's just make a $10 trillion coin and zero out the deficit or the national debt, and then just, forget all this fiscal cliff stuff and all these grand bargains. Let's just throw it in there, man. 10? Why stop at 10? 20 trillion. Let's make an endowment of $100 trillion that we draw on for the next 100 years. Why is that? Why can't we do that?
Of course we can. If we establish that the Treasury Secretary has the capacity to mint $1 trillion coin and deposit it in its account at the Fed, then they could put a 10 or a 100 or any other number. It is at the discretion of the Treasury Secretary. So, of course, they could do that. The question is, should they do that? And what would be the ramifications of doing that?
Former Mint Director Philip Deal. The accounting treatment of the coin is identical to the treatment of all other coins. The Mint strikes the coin, ships it to the Fed, books $1 trillion, and transfers $1 trillion to the Treasury's general fund, where it is available to finance government operations, just like with proceeds of bond sales or additional tax revenues. There are no negative macroeconomic effects. This works just like an additional tax revenue or borrowing under a higher debt limit.
All it is are digital entries locked up on a spreadsheet. That's what that is. When the Federal Reserve credits the Treasury's bank account, it's just digital entries locked up.
Okay.
They can't run away. They can't escape. They can't go anywhere. They can't chase any goods. They can't hyperinflate us. They can't do all of these things that people
Here's my question for you.
that they do.
What are the limits then? You can just be licentious all the time. There are no limits on the behavior. We can spend as much as we want and tax as little as we want.
Of course. I didn't say that at all. No, there are limits. Of course there are limits on how much you can spend. The limits are on the real side of the economy, though, not on the financial side. And what we're so accustomed to hearing is we can't afford it. We can't afford it. It's always the financial side. There aren't enough numbers on the balance sheet. We can't spend because we don't have the money. So let's take the hypothetical. I know Heidi's going to fall out of her chair, and I'll say $100 trillion.
Okay.
Take that hypothetical. Okay.
We mint $100 trillion coin.
Mint $100 trillion coin, and the Fed credits the Treasury's account. What happens? Nothing. Absolutely nothing in the first instance. The question is, what then would happen to those dollars if Congress appropriated some spending? Because the government can't spend unless Congress appropriates, right? So if Congress said, well, look, we have $2.2 trillion infrastructure disaster in this country, we're going to appropriate some funding to start repairing and rebuilding our nation's infrastructure. Then those funds can begin to flow out.
And then they move into the real economy.
But every
as
time
long
we've
as
done
the
that,
real resources are there, we've got 23 million Americans who want full-time work in this country and can't find it. Many of them unemployed.
Let's just mint a coin and put them to work. I mean,
that's what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying.
Why on earth would we allow 23 million Americans who want to contribute, that we have useful things for them to do? We have unemployed construction workers, unemployed manufacturing workers. They have exactly the skill set that we need.
The only thing they need is this $22 trillion coin.
It's $100 trillion. Come on.
The only thing they need is for Congress to give them permission to do it.
Sure.
Well, the only way we could make money from $100 trillion coin is if we started a museum exhibit and started charging.
Wait, no, but if you want to talk about the constraint, no, I want you to make the argument, right? So the idea is that you say, let's play this.